Hey guys, so we have made it to the fourth quarter. So we're going to start on simplifying radicals. So we're going to start off by doing a little bit of review. And what we're going to review is square roots. So you're probably familiar with this, but again, we just want to kind of review it because we're definitely going to get into square roots and we're going to need it when we get into the next section of quadratics. Okay, so just reviewing square roots. So if we're thinking about the square of a number, so 3 squared is 9. So 3 to the second power is the same thing as 3 squared. So 3 squared is 9. So the square root of 9 would be 3. So it's almost like it goes the other way. So it's the opposite of squaring a number. So it's almost like you're unsquaring the number, quote unquote. Um, so a square root of a number is a value that can be multiplied by itself and give you that original number. So when we're looking at 9, a square root of 9 is 3 because when you multiply 3 by itself, it gives us 9. So when we're thinking about the square root, one way to help you remember is to think about a tree where you do not have to do this. However, it might be helpful. So when we think about a tree and we're thinking about the root of a tree. So in this picture, they give you a tree. When you see all of the branches, the leaves on the tree, that's going to represent the 9. But then the root is in the ground. Like, what was the root? Like, yes, this tree is 9. However, I need to figure out what made that a 9. What is the root? What was its origin? What was the original? Do you see what I mean? So we're trying to figure out what made the 9, okay? And in essence, it's the 3 because 3 times itself is 9, okay? So just some examples of some other numbers that are squared and what the square root would be. And just seeing the relationship between the two. So when we look at the bottom, we see 4. So 4 squared, again, 4 to the second power, the same thing, is 16. So if we were given 16 and they were asking us to give us the square root of 16, then again, we're going to go back over to the 4 because that's going to be our answer, 4. So hopefully you can see how following these arrows and seeing how they are related. So let's go to the next one. The next one is 5. So we're thinking 5 times 5, 5 squared, 5 to the second power. All the same thing, right? So 5 squared would give us 25. However, if we started with 25 and they asked us what the square root of 25 was, we would get 5. And the same thing with 6. 6 times 6, 36. If we were given 36 and they asked us, well, what is the square root of 36? Then we'll go back and our answer is 6. Why? Again, because when we multiply 6 by itself, it gives us 36. So again, square roots are the opposite of squares. In this little illustration, that might help you to remember that. It's almost like a cycle. Look at it like a cycle. 4 squared equals 16, but the square root of 16 equals 4 squared. Okay? Another thing is when we're talking about the square root of numbers, there are times where you can square root a number and it not give you a whole number. It can give you, like, say if I did the square root of 10, there's nothing that you can multiply by itself to give you 10, right? Because 2 times 2 is what? 4. 2 squared, 4. 3 squared is 3 times 3. That's going to give us 9. The next one is 4. So 4 squared, we already saw, gives us 16. So there's no whole number that you can multiply by itself in order to give us 10. However, if you were to use the square root button on your calculator, you would get a number, but the number would be a decimal, and it's not what we would call a perfect square. So right now we're just looking at literally a perfect square, which means that a number can be squared. While we were just talking about 3 squared, 4 squared, like those are going to be like the base numbers that we're focusing on right now in the beginning. So perfect square roots are square roots which have answers that are a whole number. So in this example, that symbol is a square root symbol. I'm going to go back, but the symbol is a square root symbol. Typically, there is a line over the top sometimes, but it just depends on the platform. So there could be a line going over the 36. You might see the square root symbol written like that as well. If I can figure out how to go back. Can I figure out how to go back? Okay. Sorry. All right. So when we're talking about square roots again, they're just showing you the 5 squared, which equals 25, and then actually using the square root symbol and having the 25 next to it. So that means that they're asking you, what is the square root of 25? So then we typically would not have this 5 right here. They would be asking us, and we would have to figure out, okay, well, what is that number? Okay, 25 is the tree. So what is the root? What is the root that multiplies by itself to give us 25? And then our answer would be 5. Okay, so with that, I think we can do like a little bit of practice. So, what is the square root of 144? Now, if you look on your calculators, if you're using your phone, if you turn your phone sideways, you should see a square root function. So, or if you don't want to use a square root function, you can utilize the numbers that have been given. So we have a 12 or 11. We know that it's one of the two. So, and we know that we have to multiply the number by itself, and it has to give us 144. So if you multiply 12 times 12 or 11 times 11, which one of those is going to give you 144? If you're feeling a little advanced, I would love for you to try to utilize your calculators and try to figure out the square root that way. So if you typed in your calculators 144, you type that in first, and then you see that it should say on your calculator there should be a 2, there should be the square root symbol, and there should be the X. So all you have to do is just click that, and it'll tell you what your answer is. So if you chose 12, then you are completely correct. Good job. Okay. So, what is the square root of 49? Now, this is something that you may be able to do in your head. I gave you options of 8 or 7. So, which one is the square root of 49? You can use your calculators if you need to. If you guys said 7, then your answer is correct. So now that we have reviewed and gone through some examples of some exponents and some square roots, we are going to go ahead and practice ourselves. So what you're going to end up doing is the same thing that we've done before, which is going to be like a drag and drop type of a thing. So you would take this and then go over here and figure out, well, where does that match? Ooh, I think right here. The square root of 9, we already discussed, is 3 because 3 times 3 equals 9. So you would just take this, drag it over here, and set it there. Okay? So go ahead and give it a try and turn this in through Google. And tomorrow we will move on to our next topic with simplifying radicals. Have a good one, guys.